Join me, and together we will unravel the mysteries of the world during Dr. X's Half Hour of Power.
Roswell's, friends, and welcome to another edition of Dr. X's Half Hour of Power. Tonight we have a very special guest, a very handsome friend of mine who I met over a bag of potato chips in the men's room at a VFW in northwestern Connecticut. That's right. You've probably heard the tale before. It's legend at this point. I introduce to you Bryan of Arcane Sword Press, who will be exposing himself to us, or exposing some things he encountered to us. I guess that's better put, Bryan. We'll fix that in post. Danny, we'll fix that in post. Very good. Bryan, welcome to
Thank you,
Dr. X's Half Hour of Power.
I appreciate you inviting me to this spooky talk that we're gonna have. I've experienced the dark and the unknown and the unexplained and high strangeness, so I appreciate you giving me a platform to discuss these weird things.
I'm interested.
All right, where do you want me to start? You want me to tell me the origin stories?
Let's hear the origin story of Bryan of Arcane Sword Press.
You got it. So my mom, growing up, was a real estate agent, and since I was like 8 years old, 9 years old, she would have to bring me around because she would have to watch me. And I very vividly remember her bringing me into certain houses and asking me how I felt, or if I felt anything weird or whatever. And I would also catch her burying little, we weren't Catholic, but she would bury like saint statues in the front yard, but she wouldn't want to watch me do it. And I never understood this.
She would not let you see that?
Yeah, she didn't want me to see weird like ritual stuff. And I think it's just like I asked her about it later in life, and she said it was like the patron saint of like whatever.
Sure.
And then I'm like, we're not Catholic. What's going on here? But hey, whatever, it's cool. It was just like a little plastic figurine of someone to like protect the home.
Of course.
Which I didn't fully understand. But she also would get me, the weird books growing up, the books about ghost stories, the true UFO encounters, the Time Life Book of the Unexplained series.
Mysteries of the Unknown by Time
there
Life.
it is, yeah.
Yes.
Great books. Like she'd pick them up at like tag sales and be like, look at what I got. And I never really fully rationalized the deal with this until later in life when I asked her when I was like 18, because she would tell ghost stories. And a lot of these houses were houses that she was selling. And then I put two and two together, and I'm like, wait, were you bringing me into these houses or whatever? And she's like, yeah, I just wanted to see how you reacted to it.
A test, if you will.
A test, if you will. It's definitely, yes, that's the best way to put it.
For those at home who may have been distracted, your mother was a realtor?
Yep.
Your mother was sensitive?
Yep.
And had ghost experiences herself?
Correct.
And she would bring you to these houses for sale as an experiment to see if her little boy had the gift.
Yes.
Interesting.
I would say so, yeah. Yes. But I also grew up with this in my brain, so now I'm just into ghosts and Bigfoot and, high strangeness stuff. I always thought that was kind of fun. As an adult, and I started asking her about this stuff, because she would say crazy ghost stories, which I can get into.
Please.
I found out she was just seeing where I was at with this stuff. And then that kind of opened the floodgates where I'd be like, well, I remember feeling this. I remember this kind of energy or whatever. So I'll get into that stuff in just a moment. But I suppose a good entry point into this, bouncing off of this, I moved back home after going to school in Canada, and she Found there was a house she was trying to sell, and they needed someone to house sit it for like a long duration of time, like a couple months.
What
This
state are
is,
we talking about? Where are we now?
we're talking about Massachusetts, and we're talking about the
Massachusetts.
spookiest part of Massachusetts, which
Okay.
is Berkshire County.
Ah,
Berkshire County, how do I put it? It feels isolated and haunted. It it is a kind of place where you're surrounded by mountains, and there's only a few ways to escape it by road.
wow.
Some towns are even split in half by the mountains. You have to hop into New York State on one side and then go back into Massachusetts on the other side of the mountain just to get to the other part of town because some of the mountains are too steep. Like Mount Greylock, the largest mountain in Massachusetts, is in Berkshire County.
Okay.
Um, but it just feels like there's this impenetrable fog around it that you just can't escape. I don't. It's odd. It's an odd feeling place, and going back there, it feels haunted.
The
In a way,
Ravenloft of Massachusetts.
what's that?
The Ravenloft of Massachusetts.
You could say that. It does feel like Ravenloft. I'm in Boravia, um, and I have had many haunting experiences there, and this is one of them. So I was watching. I was asked to watch this house. This woman just died. Her son and wife, who were in their 60s. So mom was pretty old. Beautiful house. Has not was renovated in like the late 60s, had an orange kitchen. Awesome.
Mm.
Beautiful stuff.
You're speaking my language.
Oh yeah. Uh and I was being shown through this by this couple. The husband, whose mother it was kind of weird about me seeing the rest of the house. He just wanted to show me the kitchen and the upstairs area where I would be like living and then close off the rest of the house. And his wife's like, "Oh, no big deal. We'll just see the rest of the place." So he had this weird hesitation to have me go around. The house was fine until we went upstairs. So we went upstairs, showing me each room, showing me the bathroom, this bedroom, being like, okay, cool. Um, this is November, mid-November, I think. And I remember going into one room, and then I don't know, Dr. X, if you've ever encountered something like this, but I felt this overwhelming sense of like, how should I put it? Like I was being screamed at. Like the feeling when someone's like when you hear someone scream out of nowhere and the hairs on your arms stand up and you feel this like weird like your stomach drops like uh-oh, I'm in trouble.
Shock. Almost
That
an electric shock. Yes.
yes, that's what it felt like. But I remember it was so strong. I felt it before in other times in my life, but this was very strong.
So there was
And
no audio experience, but it was as if you were being screamed at. Your body reacted in that manner.
correct. Yes. Like my body was just like going into like a weird shock. Not like shock, but yeah, being like zapped. Immediate like weird fuzz in my brain. Um, and I remember the woman was talking to me and I just fully spaced out and I had no like I had to come to like oh like I had to recenter myself to like remove this feeling from me or to push through it. And it was this yellow bedroom. And it just looked like it hasn't been touched since the 70s. A lot of this place didn't really look like that. Or really looked like that, but I remember she was showing me around the room and my gut instinct was like, I want to get out of this room ASAP. I do not want to be in here. So we left the room eventually, I'm just being polite, like going, ha ha ha, but like trembling. So then, we finish up and I'm like, that's weird. I don't know if I want to do this. And then I go home and I'm like starting to cook dinner to eat it. And my mom already made dinner because, I'm vegetarian. My mom's not going to make me stuff. That's fine. Um, and, I'm 23 at the time. So
That was
whatever.
this was
I can
around
cook for
23
myself.
years old. Yeah.
What's that?
I was wondering what age you were at this time. So
Yeah, I was
23.
23. I'm 39 now. So I guess it was a bit of a time ago. Um, I go home and my mom's like, "Oh, how was it?" I'm like, she's like, "Oh yeah, the house is crazy, huh? Real time capsule." And I'm like, "Oh, absolutely." Then she's like, "Did you go in the yellow bedroom?"
Oh,
And I'm like, "Oh my God, what's up?" And then I was like, "What's up with that room, Mom?" Because she like knows, like She, in later in life, has really come to the point where I think she's like understanding that she is a bit of a medium, beyond sensitive. She has crazy stories about like weird contacts that she's been getting, where she has to seek out people to tell them stuff, which is a
Oh,
weird thing. But she jokes that's because she's getting closer to the end of her life that the veil is thinner, you know.
hell, yeah.
But that was a crazy thing, and I asked her more about that room, and it was the guy who was showing me around his mother's house. That was his brother's bedroom, who he never would let into his room. So it had a funny energy to it. Like there's a residual like anger, resentment of screaming at your younger brother, and I just happened to be in there. It was a wild feeling. That was probably one of the most visceral moments in my younger getting into this stuff.
If
Um,
I could pause there for a second. So that's an
sure.
interesting statement you just said before you got further into this. So it does not seem like either you or your mother actively pursued obtaining this mediumship. It
No.
came to you, and it came to her.
Yeah, I didn't ask for it,
Nor did she. This is
nor did
something
she.
she experienced and eventually found herself within this.
Correct. Yes. Um, a funny story with her is that when her and my father first got together, when they first got married or whatever, they had an apartment in New Jersey because that's where they're from. And she thought she was losing her mind because at night, every once in a while, she would swear she would see a woman walk across their bedroom and go to the window and disappear. And she would tell my dad, and my dad would be like, "Oh, you're just seeing things, whatever." Because he's like an engineer, he's an engineer brain. He's just in a very literal black and white. And then after they moved out, he was like, I have to confess something. I saw her too.
That
And my
dog.
mom thought she was gonna kill him.
Oh my. The old switcheroo,
The
pops.
old switcheroo. And you know what? It's an interesting thing because my dad having that kind of brain, being very literal, very black and white, zeros and ones, whatever. He's always been into this stuff because I think he was exposed to this stuff through my mom and just being around her that maybe some of the stuff kind of came about. Um,
Paranormal osmosis.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Paranormal osmosis. I love that term. Um, so to go back to when I was 8,
Mm-hmm.
I guess the first moment that really affected me that I noticed was a house that my mom brought me to. And this was a house that she let me into. And later on in life, when I asked her about it, she's like, I don't think I brought you in that house. It was too intense. I'm like, no, you brought me in. So there was this creepy house in Cheshire, Mass, which is like, a more remote town in the Berkshires,
Mm-hmm.
near the base of Mount Greylock, which has its own kind of presence, It feels like it's like a magnet for certain stuff. Not as much as October Mountain, which I'll get into some other time.
Ooh, ooh,
But
ooh, ooh, ooh.
there's a lot. I got a lot. In this house, I remember as a kid was scary. There's nothing to it. Like it had like a barn garage that was kind of like falling apart in that New England style. But I remember my mom only really wanted me on the patio on the side of the house between the garage and the house. And it was like an old, like late 1800s barn house or colonial, sorry. It was a colonial. And it was like up on the side of like a hill, and then there's like a big steep drop into like a valley behind it. It was very cool. You could see like a nice view of the Berkshire Mountains, or the Berkshire Hills rather.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember looking in the window, being kind of weirded out. My mom brought me in for a split second. I remember going into this house and it was ice cold. And I just remember like it just was an empty house. There was something weird about it. Whatever. We left. It was very hard for my mom to sell that house. So that was something she dealt with for a long time. And she would talk about it. And she was very open with like this stuff afterwards. Like she would sell the house and be like, "Oh yeah, there's like weird energy in that house, but I was able to take care of it or whatever." And I'm like, "What does that mean?" Um, but this house, I remember her telling a crazy story about this house. And I'm gonna tell the story and then I'll get to my role in it, which
I'm
I
interested.
yeah. So this was a house where my mom had a very hard time selling it. And it was because there was this very angry presence in their house, in that house. It was stranded to this house. And when I've never seen like I don't see ghosts with my eyes, but I can see them. And I don't know how to explain it beyond that. Where I get the
Okay.
impression that there's someone over there and I can visualize it in my head, like what I think they look like, but I'm not literally looking at them. And this worked out one time where I actually got a photo of a ghost, which was this. But I'll get there later. I know you're like going nuts over there. And I swear to God, I'm not bullshitting you. This is
Oh, I,
true stuff that's
I would
happening.
not have you on if I didn't trust you. This
Okay, cool.
show, I'm bringing on people I know and that I trust. No
Uh,
tomfoolery here.
no tomfoolery at all coming from me. I'm being truly, Boy Scout like oath honor, Boy Scouts honor. I used to be a Boy Scout. I don't know. Um, So my mom talked about this house, and I did not know this was the house I was thinking of until I was a young adult. Like I was like 19, 20. But she said that there's this house she couldn't sell, and there's an angry presence. And in her brain, the way that she would describe it was there's an angry man in this one room
Ooh.
that was in the floor of the house. Like the floor went up to his knees, and that's like the level he was
Oh,
at. Like he sunk into the floor.
oh, you're giving Dr. S a bit of the Jeeves.
And this is actually a weirdly common thing that she's encountered. Like it's happened a couple times, because she did not understand why for this house specifically. And so she went back into the records when she was trying to sell it. This was a house that was rebuilt on a prior foundation of a house that burned down. And one of the owners of the prior house that burned down was this man who lost his daughter to some illness. Um, But my mom didn't know that right away. Instead, she just had in her brain, when she was dealing with this house, this name popped out to her when she was in this room. Uh, which this name's crazy, but the name was Boney. So Mr. Boney, that was the name that popped out to her. So she looked it up, matched with the old records from like early 19 or early 1800s, like settler almost, like maybe late 1700s, because that part of Massachusetts is fucking old.
Sure.
There's houses that were built like before the colonial or before the Revolutionary War out there. Um, and so she found where he was buried. She went to the cemetery. It was on the road that this house was on. She had no idea. She got out of her car, immediately was drawn to one tombstone, and it was his.
Old Boney.
So old Boney's grave. So she found that. It reinforced everything. She's like, this definitely has to be the what's in this house.
Yeah.
So she said that she then went to the house, went into the room, and then said out loud, "Hello, Mr. Boney." Energy changed in the room. And then she just got this impression of this guy dealing with like the grief of his dying daughter and just overwhelmed her. But then she was able to like get rid of it by telling it to leave. You need to move on, basically.
Wow.
And then the house sold like a couple months later.
Oh my.
So fast forward, that was that creepy house I remember being in for a second. I was ice cold. But I was mostly on the porch, and I remember seeing my mom bury one of those statues in front. I'm 19 years old. I'm hanging out with my friend Ryan, and I asked my mom about that house. I was like, "Is that the house with like the ghost that's like up to his knees in the floor? Whatever." She's like, "Yeah, it was." I'm like, "Oh, that place was crazy. I remember you bringing me in there." She's like, "I didn't bring you in there." I'm like, "You brought me in there for a second." And she was like, "Oh, that's nuts." And then she like recapped the story for my friend Ryan, who never heard it. And then she was like, "You want to go to the cemetery?" And we're like, "Yeah, sure, let's go." It was like a nice sunny summer afternoon because we had nothing to do and she had to go run errands and we were just, hanging around stinking up the house. So she brought us to the cemetery and she was like, "All right, Brian, I want to see if you can find it." I get out of the car, immediately just feel out where I should go. Whoop, go up to a tombstone, and I look at it. It says Boney. This is the first one I walked up to. She's like, "You found it." I'm like, "That's crazy. That's crazy." Um, oh my goodness.
Amazing.
Do you
So
want to hear a very
when
recent?
you say what did you feel? It was just like Toucan Sam following the set. Like how did you?
Yeah, I'm like floating in the air and sniffing a pie like a cartoon character. That's kind of what it's like, to be
Yeah,
honest. It it feels like if you just kind of like tune out stuff and you just go by your instinct
I see.
and you just let it take you where it takes you. So you kind of have to just be like, boop, just turn off like the ambient noise around you or whatever. Just kind of like lock in, as the kids say. Um, but yeah, I had a very recent experience too, and this one's nuts. If
Let's
you want to hear
go,
it,
baby. Let's go.
this is in the past year. Okay, ready for this?
Yes.
So growing up, the church my parents went to was a congregational church in my hometown of Pittsfield, in the heart of the Berkshires. And this is an old church. The current version of it was built in the 1800s, but it was around in the 1700s. And we had like a youth group there, but it was like non-denominational. We had like people from like other real. It was just like a teen hangout with like none of the gross like youth pastor bullshit. It was just like, yeah, let's hang out, play a board game every Sunday night, you know. And then the whole reason why we did it is because we were able to use like church money to go to Cape Cod for half a week. And we were able to rent out like this place at like a Christian compound, but it was just a bunch of like fucking punks and whatever, just like taking advantage of like hanging out in this like funny like bougie part of Cape Cod, just literally being like dumb idiots, you know, wearing black t-shirts with skulls and we're hanging out in a church, whatever. Um,
It
I remember
doesn't
growing,
sound too much different from what we do now
yeah,
at our
like,
free time.
actually, that's what we're doing in a month. So I remember doing like growing up there and doing community stuff there. Like my family wasn't religious. It was just we used church as a way to have community. Like our neighbor two houses away was the minister of the church, and we grew up with his kids, you know. It was just like it was a neighborhood thing, whatever. Um, and I remember as a kid, this back stairway was terrifying to me. This is an old building. Like the downstairs is kind of freaky with all the classrooms and stuff, but it was like mostly fine. But there's this back staircase that went up to the side of the stage in the back that had a weird energy to it. Very weird energy, and I could never shake it all my life. What's going on back there? But I remember being younger, being able to push it away and then being fine. And having that realization like when I'm like 10 that I have to do that if I'm gonna ever take those stairs.
Wow.
So in the past year, I started dreaming about this place
Oh,
every night for 2 weeks. And it's always about I like have not looked into this church. I don't know its history in the past like 20 years or so. Every night I was having a dream about this place and that back staircase. But also the sanctuary where like the church part is. Having this feeling of like being upset or angry and alone. And it was just like permeating me. And then I kept on having dreams of like I'm going there to go to the last, you know, like sermon or whatever, and like all the people I remember there are there. Or like another scenario is like I'm going on a walkthrough with a real estate agent or someone just showing me around, and I go in that staircase, and then I'm pulled down the staircase and I'm screaming. I remember being woken up by my fiance who's like, "Why are you screaming?" And I'm like, "Why? I'm having the dream about the staircase again." But like,
you were screaming in real life, like you were
Yeah,
screaming.
yeah, I was going, oh, apparently. But I remember in the dream, it was like I was being pulled down, but then I was able to like push it away and be like, no, I'm here now. And then that's when she woke me up, and I was like, but I had control. I got control in the dream. Um, Whatever. A lot of dreams like this for a 2 week period. Then I called my mom. specifically to talk about it. And I was like, Mom, what's up with that staircase? She's like, I don't know, but it's weird. Like, I remember not liking it back there. She's like, I don't know what it could be. It's a church, but someone was mad back there. Maybe someone saw something. And that's a big thing too, which I'll get into, is like these kind of things are impressions in time,
Hmm.
seemingly, where someone experiences trauma either physically or like it were exposed to something, but that also means maybe they saw something,
Yeah, I
you
never thought of it
know?
that way.
And that's like a way to like she has an example of like a house she was trying to sell that was also haunted with another guy stuck in the floor. But this was like, as you do. But this was like she remembers seeing like the impression of someone falling down a flight of stairs and dying at the bottom of the stairs. And it was just like on repeat in her mind. It was just like, and she like looked into it and that did happen. Like she like got that confirmation when she like looked
Oh,
into like the history of the house. Because it used to be at like a highway in on like off of Route 2 going from like North Adams into towards Worcester or whatever through the valley. Or I guess to Greenfield in that area, but it was like for horses, like a horse stable place. And it was just a house that they turned into from that
sure.
kind of like place to stay. Anyways, so some kind of thing in time is stuck. And that's what's going on in this staircase, basically. And I asked her, I'm like, oh, when was the last time you were there? Like, can I go there? Because I think something wants me to go there. And she's like, no, it's been abandoned for like so many years. Like, the church moved on to a new building and combined with another congregation. So it's been for sale for years. I'm like, wait, it's empty? It's been abandoned? And I told her like what's been going on in my dreams about this sense of like emptiness and like wondering where everyone is. And she thought that was interesting. And then she was like, do you get a name at all? Like, is there a name that comes to your mind? And I'm like, no, I haven't really thought about that because that's something she's been doing and has been telling me to do is just like if you feel something, try to get a name.
Okay.
And you just do this by like first thing that comes to mind. So I get off the phone and I just like think for a split second. I'm like, what comes to mind? And the name Al or Albert comes to mind. So then I look it up the next day. I'm like, okay, whatever, whatever. Next day I look it up. And I find that the original founder of the church was like Alfred something. I forget his last name, but he was like his brother was like a major like rebel in Vermont during the Revolutionary War against the English or whatever. And he was like a minister for because like the Congregational Church is like is basically what the Puritan Church was or
Okay.
became, which is funny because it's like the most groovy of all the churches. It's the one that gives condoms to kids and be like, ah, God forgives you, like it's the one that have like gay ministers first. It's like
Yeah.
the chillest of them all. Um, and I'm like, that's crazy. So I call my mom, and then I tell her that. And she's like, oh yeah, I didn't even know that. That's wild. And I'm like, is there a way I like heard this like sometime in my life going there, and it's just been in my brain. I just unlocked it, but I'm like, I don't think so because I didn't give a shit. Like if people told me the history of the church, I'd be like, boring. Like there's no way. Uh, so it was wild. That was like a really weird thing. And then the dream stopped.
Really?
Um, and then my mom told me a couple weeks ago, or I guess a couple months ago at this point, that the church is now um, was purchased by another church, and I might be able to like go in there, like when they have like community stuff. Because this back staircase was in the second floor, going to the first floor. And the room it went to was the side of the stage and this upstairs giant like event hall. Like this beautiful event hall that I would love to do a convention at. It was like very big and just this back staircase was weird. Like I remember so many times in my life just looking down that staircase.
Perhaps
I
this
think
is an opportunity to take this show literally on the road and
on the
join
road,
you
yeah.
as you
Yeah, yeah,
explore the
yeah.
back staircase.
Gotta go. I gotta figure out what's in that staircase. I need to stand in it and see what comes to mind or what comes to the mind's eye, I suppose.
Somebody is trying to tell you something.
Yeah, but not anymore. I think I figured it. I think it was there was something trying to say something, and then I kind of figured it out.
Or perhaps once again, this was another test.
I guess so. I mean, it was the kind of thing where shortly after I had that phone call with my mom, she let me know later on, like not that long later, that the church was sold.
Hmm.
So I'm like, oh, that's weird. I don't know, coincidence, I guess. But
Oh,
yeah,
there are no coincidences. But as we know here on the half hour of power,
for sure.
there is a
Um,
purpose behind that.
absolutely. I mean, I don't know how many stories you want me to tell. I know I was telling Dr. X a bunch of stories at the last convention.
Well, I'll tell you what, this would make for a great episode 2 and perhaps 3, as we have just hit the 30-minute mark on the half hour of power. That's how fast it goes, baby.
Wow. Wow. I just started getting going. I can go for hours.
Brian, could you tell the listeners at home about what's coming up on your agenda in
Oh,
terms
sure.
of Arcane Con?
Oh, yeah. So we got Arcane Con coming up on November 7th and 8th in Northampton at First Churches on Main Street. Friday, doors are at 1 p.m. and it goes to 10 p.m. And then Saturday, doors are at 8:30 and it goes to 10 p.m. as well. I'm very excited for this year. It's 2 days. We got some great people running. Dr. X will be there, of course, I'm sure, right?
Live and in person.
Yes, there we go. We got a wide variety of fantastic RPG creators running their own games. We got a lot of cool stuff. And most games have a seat or two available for in-person sign up. So if you weren't able to get a seat at a table when you got tickets ahead of time, there's still a chance for you to do it. Obviously, it's first come, first serve, but people also have been canceling their pre-registration seats, so I've been adding that back into the roster of what's available. It's coming up fast. We got, oh my goodness. I just got the lanyards. I'm getting the event card IDs. Yeah, it's
I
gonna be
spoke
great.
to Joey Royale this morning, and he just put in an order for some old and new zines, so he's
Beautiful.
raring to go. And I
Oh
will be
yeah.
there checking the back staircase.
Oh yeah. Well, there's a back staircase in this church, and let me tell you, there's some low grade energy in the church, but nothing bad. I think it's just, old buildings have a vibe,
Of course. Brian, if people would like to see your work, because you're a producer of content as well, you're a writer, an
hmm
illustrator, and everything in between, where can they find you?
Go to arcaneswordpress.com. You can find all my stuff right there and all the links to all the stuff. I'm also on Instagram at Arcane Sword Press as well. And I'm on Blue Sky, which I don't use as much, but that's all right.
Arcane Sword Press.
Correct. All one word.
Very good. Brian, you must join us again on the half hour of power.
I can't wait for the next one.
I believe you, and I'm interested.
For sure.
Ladies and gentlemen, and all of our other friends, Brian, we
Thank you
thank
for
you.
having me.
Next episode, who knows what we will find out. I hope you'll join us. Dr. X signing off. Thank you, WHPA TV 13. Good evening.